Welcome to today's video. I just wanted to yap a little bit about the books that I've read this year and maybe make a little book-related craft because I have done a pretty bad job. It's June. It's the middle of the year. It's officially the 6th month, which is insane. Let's get into it. I will talk a little bit briefly about the first few books I read, and then we'll probably change locations and talk more later so that I can get back to reading. The first series that I read this year was the Daughter of No Worlds series, and these books slapped. There's 3 of them. It's a trilogy, and it was so much fun. I had last year read all of the Throne of Glass books, which absolutely loved them. I think one of the best series I've read in recent history and memory.
In recent history, I don't know what that means.
One of the best series I've read recently. And coming out of that, I definitely wanted to read more fantasy, but there's just so much fantasy to read. There's so much. And not all of it is good, so I didn't know where to start. And my friend Anna recommended these books to me, and I'm so glad she did because I had such a good time reading them. They follow an assassin who escaped. Hi, it's me editing BB. I'm gonna interrupt that BB right here because she goes on to describe this book in the most vague way possible, and I want you to enjoy it and want to read it, so let me tell you a little bit more in actual details with names. So, this book follows a magic wielder named Tashana. She makes a deal basically with the person who enslaved her that if she can make a certain amount of money using her magic at parties, then he will set her free. So she makes that money, she goes to him, he says no, and in what I guess I will describe as like a magical outburst, accidentally kills him. She decides to flee across the ocean to where the Institute, which is where kind of all of the magic wielders are in this universe, in the hopes that they can help her better understand her magic so that she can go back across the ocean and save all the people she left behind. Obviously there is a romance with a guy named Max, who is your typical I have a tortured past so I'm rough around the edges, but deep down inside I'm actually very soft and gentle boy. Basically, he is assigned as the person who will help teach her how to control her magic and to use it. The magic in this universe is really fun, it's really cool, and their romance is just so fun to read. Yeah, I loved these books. 5 out of 5 stars for me. They were bangers. After reading those series, I read Half a Soul, and this book was maybe one of my favorite that I've read on this list, actually, because this book was like Pride and Prejudice meets fantasy meets the water. Oh, the sprinklers are starting. Hello, everyone. Hello. We did not get hit by the sprinklers. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of us. We are currently at a very gorgeous park near my apartment, and I've brought my book, and I have things to yap about. So I think before the sprinklers almost hit us, we were talking about Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Half a Soul follows a girl named Dora Eddings, or Theodora Eddings, and it is set in the Regency era. So think Pride and Prejudice, think Jane Austen, think Bridgerton. But it also has a kind of fantasy element because in this world, fairies are real. And don't think like the happy, nice, fun fairies, think like the evil fae kind of fairies. So you're getting kind of a mesh of both of those things. And basically early in her life, Dora ran into a fairy in the forest who tried to steal her soul, but only managed to steal half of it. So she spends the rest of her life living with half a soul. And that means that she is kind of socially unaware. She doesn't feel things the same way other people feel things. And she's also a girl in the Regency era who needs to get married. What happens basically is that Dora's cousin is going to London to do the whole courtship season thing, think very much Bridgerton, and convinces Dora to go with her because she has a secret plan to set her up with a wizard. So it is really fun. It is full of a lot of quippy humor and bickering, much like Jane Austen. It has a lot of irony, and you've got like I guess I wouldn't say enemies to lovers, but a lot of really good banter. If that sounds fun, that for me was a 5-star book. I loved every minute of it. I read it so fast. It was so cozy. It was so fun. It was exactly what I needed when I needed it. Another book that I read this year, and that book is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. Wow. Birds. Did you guys see that? A Song for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers is a book about a dystopian future where robots became sentient, but it's not like that, okay? It is like one of the only sentient robot stories that actually is very hopeful and cozy. Because basically what happened is when robots became sentient, humanity decided to split the planet with them. And so you have humans and robots agreeing to never see each other, to keep the world kind of separated. And then you have Dex, who is a tea monk who decides to go out into the wild and meets a robot. And they're like the first human and robots that have met since, you know, the split, which I think at this point in the book is a long time before, like hundreds of years before. So I really loved this book. It was so cozy. It was so fun. You're kind of following Dex. You're learning about the world, but not in like, let me tell you about the world, like a very much like let me show you what a happier future could look like if we saved the planet and if robots became sentient, which is a wild plot, but I had so much fun kind of being in that world. The reason for me that this book would not be 5 stars is that the kind of end, like, philosophy or message of the book, basically the whole book, Dex is trying to figure out what are humans for and what is, like, the purpose of my life. And they kind of come to the conclusion that humans shouldn't worry about that. Basically that humans are just animals and they should stop concerning themselves so much with why they exist. And as a Christian, I just struggle with that conclusion because I believe that humans have been made for a purpose and there is reason and there is hope in the world outside of just like, don't worry about it. So I think that that's where the book lost me. It had me in so many other areas, so beautifully written, so fun to read, such an imaginative and cozy and fun world, but it really lost me in that last kind of like, here's why. So I would probably give it 4 stars because I loved reading it and I was really interested in it, but I just couldn't get behind kind of the message. I'm gonna go read some more of what I'm reading right now, which is Peace Like a River by Leif Egner. This was written in 2001, and it follows a family in the 1960s where the eldest son is accused of murder. And he goes on the run, and the family goes on the run after him, basically. And it is so good. It is so beautifully written. It is so good. So I think I'm almost done. I think I was reading this in the park, the other park probably, but I'm gonna get back to it and I'll see you guys back at home. Hello, we are back from the park and I thought while editing BB could yap a little bit more about some other books I've read this year, we could start sewing something that's a little bit bookish and a little bit fun. I have already cut out all of our, not that one is scrap fabric. I have already cut out a bunch of fabric and interfaced it to make a little book holder. Basically, you know that one Haley Pham sells that always sells out really fast that is so cute and I want so bad? We're making that, okay? A little book holder for our paperback with a little pocket where we can put our pens and our bookmarks and our sticky notes, okay? That's what I want. And we're using this beautiful little moth fabric for, I don't know, some like whimsy vibes. And then this adorable spring beauty. I love it so much. It's so cute. So moths for the outside, spring little fabric for the inside. And I have already quilted one piece of the moth and I love how it looks because it kind of looks like a little grate or something, like you're like looking through a gate and to see the butterflies. It looks kind of like botanical gardens to me. I don't know if that's just me, but I think it's really cute. So I'm going to quilt this guy as well and then figure out what the directions are. I'm following this little how-to page, but also adding a pocket on the front using another vlog that I saw someone do it on. Sorry, that's not the most helpful sewing tutorial, but honestly, when have I been known for super helpful sewing tutorials? Not often. Really, truly not often. So I'm gonna get quilting and editing BB's gonna get to yapping. Okay. Alright, so I've been talking about a lot of cozy books so far in this video, and don't worry, I have more where that came from. I read a lot of cozy books so far this year. The next series that I started was a secret bookcase mystery series, and these are a series set in the fictional town of Redwood Grove, California, so near where I live in a fictional universe. And the main character, Annie, works in an Agatha Christie themed bookstore. Now for me, this is perfect because I love cozy detective fiction. It is the genre of reading that I always return back to when I'm in a slump, or if I just want something cozy. It's exactly what I pick for in between hard reads or just for fun. And Ellie Alexander is a local author to where I live, so it's really fun to be able to read her books and then also like get to talk to her at book club and get to see her and just kind of talk through how she decides to write and the characters. So these books follow Annie. She has her undergraduate degree in criminology, so she kind of ends up being in the middle of all these mysteries and kind of helping the detectives solve them. There's also a through line of a plot where her best friend died on a case. They were working on a case for their senior year project and her friend died, so she's also trying to solve that cold case. The thing that I love about these series, I've also read a whole nother one of her series, is that you have through line of characters and like these longer form plots, but you're also getting new stories every time. So I love these books, would highly recommend if you like cozy detective fiction. The next cozy thing that I read this year was Legends and Lattes, and let me tell you, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I loved this book because I just won't shut up about it. Legends and Lattes follows a character named Viv, who is an orc barbarian who decides to stop going on adventures, stop killing things, stop violence, and instead focus on starting a coffee shop in a small town where no one knows what coffee is. And this premise just has my whole heart. It is so cozy. It's so cozy. And I fell in love with this book immediately. It was just exactly what I needed at the time. It's very cozy, very fun. You know that it's going to be okay because basically the biggest stakes are that no one in the town knows what coffee is and she's trying to start a coffee shop. And it's very slice of life, it's very fun, and I really loved it. For me, this was 5 stars because I would totally return to reading this, and I just really loved it. It was very creative and very fun. Hello, okay, quick pause from editing BB because I have a little bit of an update about our little sewing journey. I finished both of these quilted pieces, and then I decided to quilt the little pocket in the little waffle fabric way. Kind of like the one that Haley sells has the waffle all over it. I thought it would be fun and it gives it a little bit of contrast. I'm into it. So I quilted this. These are 1 1/4 inch squares. I just used my ruler to map that out and draw it out with a fabric marker. And then I attached it right sides facing with our little green piece and then folded that, gave it a good press. That is an underrated sewing hack or just tip or thing that you should do that most people don't do, is literally press every single line of stitching that you do and your finished piece comes out so much more crisp and clean and put together. Like I pressed that when I finished it and then I basting stitched it, which is just a wide, longer stitch that you do to keep something in place so that when I attach this to the inside piece, the pocket doesn't shift. I basting stitched it on the edges and then I pressed the basting stitches to make sure that this fit on this piece of fabric. And let me tell you, it looks so much nicer and it's not that hard. So if you are a beginning sewist or thinking about sewing, keep that locked in there because I ignore it a lot of the times and you can tell. But anyways, our next step is to take our inside lining pieces and connect it right sides facing to our outer pieces like this, and then sew that, and then we take those 2 pieces and connect them together, and then we flip it all, and then it's done. So this is a really easy, beginner friendly, very simple project, but I need to go get a hairband to use because I'm gonna make a little button closure instead of making a zipper closure because I don't want to do a zip. I don't want to do it. However, if you think that all I did was read cozies this year, you would be wrong. I read some non-cozy things as well. Sunrise on the Reaping, when it came out, I immediately picked up and started reading, and this was not cozy. Okay, this was the opposite of cozy. This was chaos and sadness. Sunrise on the Reaping is the new Hunger Games book. It is a prequel and it follows Haymitch's story when he was in the Hunger Games himself. Just like the originals, very brutal, very sad, and there's a lot of very heavy themes happening. I really liked this book. I read it very fast, but I think for me, the only thing that bothered me about it is that the ending, really, there was no hope at all. I'm okay with a book being heavy. I'm okay with the plot being hard, but I just want at least one person to believe it's gonna be okay at some point. I just need one person to have hope for the future or for there to be something to look forward to, and this book just really does not provide that. But after crying from Sunrise on the Reaping for a little bit, I decided I wanted more dystopia, which I don't know why. I was in Seattle at the time and the book that I had with me was not appealing to me, and my friend had Red Rising, so I decided to start Red Rising, and I tore through this book. Red Rising follows a character named Darrow. In a future where humanity has basically spread to other planets and started colonizing them, they have created factions where people fit. So you have the Reds, they are mining everything that is needed from the planet, all the resources that humanity needs, and then you have all the way up to the Golds, who are the top, the cream of the crop of society. They are the warriors, they are the wealthy, and Darrow, this is not a spoiler, it happens very early on in the book, his wife does an act of rebellion and ends up dying, and so Darrow is thrown into deciding whether or not he wants to rebel as well, and that plays out in some very fascinating ways. This book is very dark, very similar to the Hunger Games book that I was talking about. There is not a lot of hope, and Darrow himself is kind of an interesting character to be in his head because he is conflicted himself. He is not confident that anything will work. I think that's very realistic, but it was very difficult to be in for however many pages I was in it. I loved the writing of this book. I loved the plot of this book. I couldn't stop reading it, but I wanted there to be something hopeful to hold on to. And maybe that's naive, but I really wanted it to feel like, okay, things are gonna be okay maybe, but Darrow just doesn't leave a lot of room for that in the way that he narrates this book. So overall, I would give this book probably like 4 stars, and once I'm emotionally prepared, I will probably go back to finish the rest of the series. As you can tell, I was traveling at this point in this video, and I will let this BB talk about this more. Hello, friends. Okay, we are in the corner of an airport in Minnesota. Where even am I? But I had something I wanted to show you. This is the little book holder that we made earlier, and it came out truly so cute. I finished Peace Like a River, which I think I talked about last clip, but in case I didn't, I would give that book probably 5 stars.
I would recommend it to anyone. I had a really good time reading it. In the book, you follow Ruben.
So 5 stars from me. But I was on the plane, I was watching Lexi's new video where she goes bowling to decide her TBR, which is such a funny, silly, and goofy idea that I am completely in love with. She has basically a ranking of like best to worst options on her list, and the worst option on her young adult fantasy was the second book of the... what was that book called? It's the second book of the Lightlark series, and that book was awful. The fact that Lexi had it on the bottom of her list kind of reinforced the feelings that I had while reading it, where I kind of felt like just the writing was like, I felt confused the whole book, and I think that there is a good way to do plot twists that you don't see coming that are really cool, that like everyone can be like,
Whoa, I had no idea that was gonna happen.
there's a way to do that where you can carry the reader with you, but this author did it in a way where I was constantly confused about what was real and constantly confused about where I was and who I was and what was happening, and it was just not a good experience. So I would give that book probably a 1 star. The premise was fun and the idea of it was fun, and I wanted to like it so bad because I really wanted to get back into a fantasy series, maybe a young adult fantasy series that would be a good time, and I thought maybe this was it. So that was probably my least favorite book. I feel like as we've been talking about, listing a lot of like my favorites, so I just wanted to balance that a little bit. But I'm gonna hop on this plane to go home and probably I just started this, I got like 6 pages in and it's already devastating. Like the back tells you that it's gonna be devastating, but his mom already died and his dad's an alcoholic. So Hello everyone, we're back home in California. So I just have a couple of other books that we can yap about. We have yapped about all of the fiction that I have read this year, and everything else I have to talk about is nonfiction. So if you're not a nonfiction person, thank you so much for watching this far, and I'll see you next time you're feeling crafty. But if you are a nonfiction person, let me tell you about some things I read. So I recently just graduated from my master's program, so a lot of these books are relating to psychology, social work, mental health. That's the area that I have studied. If we counted everything I read for school, this video would be like 3 hours long. So I'm just gonna pull some notable ones that I've read so far this year. The first is The Body Keeps the Score. This is by Bessel van der Kolk. It was written in 2014, and Bessel van der Kolk is known as one of the earliest researchers on trauma. So if you are interested in how traumatic events specifically impact your body, that is mostly what this book is about. He was kind of the first person to argue that trauma doesn't only impact your mind but has a tangible impact on your physical well-being, and he goes through different ways that you can help clients heal from trauma through physical outlets like yoga or theater or dance. If that is something that's interesting to you, that is a really good book, and the understanding of trauma at the time was very different than how we've come to talk about it in kind of the pop psych way now. So if you're interested in reading more of the literature about it, that is a really good book. The other notable book that I read from school this year was The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. This book is about how social media has impacted youth's mental health, not just phones, but specifically the impact social media has had on mental well-being and just on society at large, how we think about raising kids and how we think about safety and all of those things. It is a super good book. Really, really interesting. At the end, he has some recommendations for schools, for government, and for tech companies. But I would warn you that this book is pretty heavy. As we all know, the impact of social media is widespread, prevalent, and strong. And so I'd really recommend being in a place where you feel like you're ready to read that. But if you are working with teenagers, if you are raising kids, if you interact with teens, or if you just want to understand the world as it is now better from that perspective, I would highly recommend this book. So those are my two notable books from school. And then the other nonfiction I've been reading is a lot of Christian nonfiction. I read Gentle and Lowly. This book is amazing. This book is so good. It explores how the heart of Christ is first and foremost gentle and lowly. Also, I read None Like Him by Jen Wilkins, which I thought was okay, but was not mind-blowing in my opinion. But she basically explores different attributes of God and talks about the ways in which God is not like us. Finally, I read The Giving Principle, and this was given to me by my dad. It was a good time. If you're interested in understanding how faith and finance can work together, I would recommend that as well. So that's everything I've read this year. Thank you for being here, for listening to me yap, and let me know if you end up making a little book bag for yourself as well. I would love to see those. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time you're feeling crafty. Bye! Who actually ever knows what they're doing? Not me. I'm sorry, can you hear the birds? They're so beautiful. But I feel like, what was that word? I feel like